Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have not done this in a few days, and you know we're doing this till the start of the season. Have too much fun going through and breaking down these dynasty teams. We have Tyler, Maine, both already out here in the chat. Maine says, please don't go super flex every time. We'll talk about some one quarterback leagues. We'll talk about some super flex leagues here, my friend. We're just going to be looking at what people submitted for us. I think we even have a best ball league here to be looking at. But of course, before we get into it, y'all better be going down there, dropping a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. And if you want to get one of your teams highlighted on one of these live streams or sent to you in a personalized podcast broken down by yours truly, make sure you go sign up for flockfantasy.com with promo code FLOCK. You're going to get 30% off any subscription. And with promo code FLOCK and a Mother Flocker package, that's how you get your team broken down on the stream. You can find that link in the comment section and the live chat. But let's go through and let's dive into this. First team we are going to be looking at is going to be from a long-time member of the Flock, Bush Sports here. A lot of y'all know him as Bastro in the Flock Dynasty Leagues. He crushes us in pretty much every single league. Says, I need your help beating your own team, Mason. I am in this weird spot right now. Don't know exactly where to take the team. In a tough place because I can't properly tank with my 2023-2024 picks being from other league mates. We finished third last year. It's a 12-team Superflex tight end premium PPR best ball league. So this is one of the Flock leagues that we actually have for those members on flockfantasy.com. And if you're looking at it, the number one thing that I need to be pointing out for everybody who is unfamiliar with this specific league format is this will be a hyper flex league. So if you are going through and looking at the starting lineup requirements, you have one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, wrong way, 5, 6 flex spots and a super flex. So it's start 11 PPR best ball. In this kind of format in particular, it's all about wide receiver production. I'm sure Bastro already knows this. I mean, if you can go through, if you can build around depth wide receivers, then you are going to be in a phenomenal position. If you can build around those deep wide receivers and then have those guys randomly spike through your starting lineup as if it's underdog fantasy through the course of the season, you're going to be in a phenomenal spot. But if we're going to go position by position here for Bastro, you're looking at Matthew Stafford at QB, going down to the super flex spot. I mean, you have Jared Goff, Ryan Tannehill, Tom Brady. So definitely a little bit underweight here at the quarterback position. I mean, I would like to have Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford as like a quarterback 2, quarterback 3 pairing behind an elite level guy. Like if we had Jalen Hurts and then afterwards in a best ball league, we had Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, and Ryan Tannehill, I'd really like that quarterback room. But if we are just rostering these depth quarterbacks and we don't really have a stud at the top end, it is going to make things a little difficult. Going over to running back in the starting lineup, we're going to be rolling with Tyler Algier, Isaiah Pacheco, Leonard Fournette. Going down to the bench, I mean, it's hard to find too many names that you're excited about. In reality, there's nobody. But going back to what we were talking about at the very top of this, you only have to start one running back in this format. You are really incentivized to build around those depth wide receivers to get as many wide receivers in here as possible, because we have those 6 flex spots that you're working with. So, I mean, if you have Isaiah Pacheco, Tyler Algier as your running back 1, running back 2, and that's pretty much it in a regular league, you are in a very bad position and you should seek help. Specifically in this format, however, it's not really that case. In this format, you are going to be fine. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have Jameson Williams. And I don't see much else. I mean, we have Devonta Parker, if we wanted to shout him out. How the hell did you get third place in this team last year, my man? We don't really have anything at wide receiver. Tight end, we have the elite level option with Mark Andrews. But yeah, this team, almost top to bottom, everywhere outside of tight end, it looks like we are a little underweight. So my initial reaction with this roster, just like you were saying, is, well, we don't have our own 2024 first. So if we don't have our own 2024 first, really, what can we do? It's not as simple as just going through and trading away every veteran we have on the team, picking up future draft capital, punting for 2024, getting the 101, bringing in Caleb Williams, being able to center our team around him, and immediately seeing that influx of top-end talent like the teams with the 101 and Bijan Robinson this year. So you are put in a very difficult position, especially if we go over and look at those rookie picks that you have. We're sitting with the 111, 211, 202, 210, 310, 410, 510, 6. Keep in mind, we go so deep in this league specifically because you are not going to have the waiver wire. Instead, you're going to be picking up pretty much everybody through that rookie/veteran draft. So that's why it's important here to have those 5th, 6th round rookie picks. But in general, if we break this down, pick 11, you're going to be right outside that teardrop. I mean, on paper, of course, the teardrop right before this is Addison, Quentin Johnston, Zach Charbonnet. In reality, once we get the NFL draft, once we have landing spots and people going a little crazy, maybe we get one of those players falling to us at pick 11, but it almost doesn't matter who falls to us at 11 because this team still won't be good enough to be competitive this next season, even if we were to hit on that player. And 202, I actually kind of like Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs. Those wide receivers in this format, I'd be excited about, whereas in a regular Dynasty league, probably not. 210, 211, we can play around with some day 2, day 3 running backs if we really wanted to and see if we can find a hit there or maybe go ahead and take a couple tight ends. Keep in mind, this is a flock league. All flock leagues are going to be tight end premium. So it's an interesting spot to be in. Honestly, my man, I don't know how you got 3rd place last year. I don't think this team's going to be competitive this next season. My number one thing that I personally would be looking to do, and obviously this kind of goes without being said, is try to go through and trade for our 2024 first round pick. If we can go back out and whichever owner traded it, we traded it to, if we can go, hey man, for that first round pick, I'll give you Jameson Williams. And go overpay for it, right? Because I'd imagine right now, please, everybody in the live chat, can y'all spam, what would y'all rather have? Would you rather have Jameson Williams or a random 2024 first round pick? Because on the surface, the other owner probably won't realize that you're doing this. The other owner probably won't think, okay, well, this is going to be the 101. I can't let that first round pick go. They'll probably say, okay, this team got 3rd last year. It's not that good. But if this is the first move that we prioritize, maybe we can get it done. Okay, Snakehead Schultz says he would rather have the first round pick. Michael says he'd rather have the first round pick. I don't see anybody saying they'd rather have Jameson Williams. So maybe it's a little bit harder to get done. Maybe instead we have to go through and package together Jameson Williams and a 2nd round pick in this year's in this year's rookie draft to go get that 2024 first back. That way, before we make any moves, before we tear this down, before you let the league know what you are looking to do, we get that first round pick back in pocket. Then we go through and we begin selling off those veterans and continuing to stack up future first. If that's something we could do, that would be phenomenal because we have a first round pick already. We traded ours away, but we do have someone else's. So if we are able to hit that reset button, say sell Jameson Williams in a 2nd, get back that 2024 first, have Caleb Williams for the long term, go approach another team that maybe is looking to be competitive this year, see if we can be getting back, a decent prospect for like Matthew Stafford, see if you can trade Matthew Stafford and his 2nd round pick and go get the 110. That way we can bring in someone like Zach Charbonnet, Jordan Addison. Maybe that could be a move we're looking to do as well. You have a lot of young youth here with Tyler Algier, Isaiah Pacheco, Jameson Williams. Andrews will obviously be on the block. I think Andrews is a little bit depressed at the moment. I know we're not helping much here, my friend. I'm sure you know what to do even better than I do. So it's difficult for me to say exactly what our plans are, steps 1, 2, 3. But I think in general, just getting that first round pick back and giving us some flexibility on what we're able to do, I think that'll put us in a much better position. Because right now, you are operating with your hands tied behind your back. You don't have that out of burning it down and playing for 2024, which I think this team kind of has to do because I don't think this team has the firepower to get it done this next season. And even if we were to go in the opposite direction, if we were to start selling some of those 2024 picks, like if we were to go through and say, sell our 2024 first round pick that we got from someone else, right? Who are we selling that for to make this team competitive? Say we sell that 2024 first and we go get Christian Watson, right? We're able to find an owner to give us Christian Watson. We're ecstatic. If we add in Christian Watson to this team, are we then a contender? Probably not. So if we're stuck in the middle where we can't contend unless we then maybe go through and sell our 2024 first, our 2025 first, our 2024 seconds, our 2025 seconds, and that's the only way we can contend. You know better than I do that that's not something we should look to do. That's like the worst thing you could ever do. Yeah, my friend. So I think that we just do everything we can to get our 2024 first round pick back and then burn it down. I don't know exactly which flock league this is, but you can let me know, and maybe I will have a few rookie picks to send you for a couple of those veterans. But I'll tell you, we're bargain hunting here, my friend. We are bargain hunting. But thank you again, as always. And of course, thank you for the suggestion on what to do with flockfantasy.com the other day. Super happy to work on what you wanted, and I think it will be improving the site in a big way. But as we go over to our next team, this is going to be coming out from Ronaldo. Thank you, my friend, for being a member of the flock. And before we get to this, actually, let me give a shout out real quick. We have a question coming out from D3 Life. It says, how can I get my team broken out? So, okay, first off, join flockfantasy.com. I'm assuming you've already done that if you're asking this question. Join flockfantasy.com. Use promo code FLOCK with that Mother Flocker package. Then all you have to do is join our Discord. It's on the very top of flockfantasy.com, that little Discord button. Click it. You're in our massive group chat. And then send your username to flockfantasy.com in the Join Here tab on Discord. The developers will give you access to this special channel, the roster submissions channel that we're looking at currently. And then you just send a screenshot of your team there with the league settings, my friend. But let's go over to this team from Ronaldo. This is going to be a 12-team Superflex, 6-point passing touchdown league, PPR with 1.5 tight end premium. I won the championship last year and trying to repeat. We have the 103 and looking at possibly getting either Jackson Smith and Jigba, but my quarterback position's a little shallow. I'll say in general in Superflex, I'm going to be looking at going quarterback over Jackson Smith and Jigba, especially if it is a 6-point passing touchdown league. I mean, I think that it makes probably too much sense to just go through and take CJ Stroud, Bryce Young there with their prospect profiles. But anyway, I've also talked to the team at the 101 and 102, and it sounds like Bijan and Gibbs are going to be gone. Where would you go if you were me? Thanks, Mason. Love the content. Keep it up. No, thank you so much, my friend. So we'll get into that in just one second. But before we even look at exactly what we're going to be doing there, instead, let's go ahead and let's pull up this team. So this team, we are sitting pretty. Okay, we are in a phenomenal spot with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. You're saying that the team's a little shallow at the quarterback position. I don't really care too much. I mean, if you have Patrick Mahomes, it just gives you so much flexibility with what you're able to do elsewhere. Going down to our second QB, we have Derek Carr. Derek Carr, in my mind's a really nice third quarterback option where you know he has the guaranteed job security, right? The New Orleans Saints pay him all the guaranteed money, so he is going to be their starter in 2023 and most likely in 2024 as well. So in my mind, it's a great spot to be if you have that quarterback as the QB3 on your roster, and he will be once we make that pick at the 103. So yeah, I think that we're good at QB for now. Is definitely not a quarterback room that's going to be making me draft Jackson Smith and Jigba over a rookie QB though. Now, going over to running back, I mean, we have a top 5 running back in Dynasty with JT. We have Najee Harris as well. I mean, Najee Harris on his rookie contract still. If you were looking at Dynasty RB rankings last offseason, these both were like 1 and 2. Obviously, things have changed, but still Najee Harris on his rookie deal. I'm excited about having him as a running back too in Dynasty. I think both of these players give you the ability to contend in the short term as well as some long-term value where they're not going to be falling off a cliff right away. Now, we really don't have much help at the running back position in terms of depth, but that's not the most important thing in the world. If we're going to be looking at this team, it's not like we're going to be starting 11 guys on a week-to-week basis. I mean, we are starting 10, so we need a nice balance of top-end production as well as depth, but I think we're fine with where we're sitting. Going over to wide receiver, we have Garrett Wilson, Jerry Jeudy, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Treylon Burks. So this is very similar in that we have a nice mix of both top-end production for 2023 as well as that long-term value that we can build around. I mean, I don't expect Garrett Wilson to be going anywhere anytime soon. Jerry Jeudy is still incredibly young. Jerry Jeudy is younger than Kenny Pickett. Treylon Burks, obviously, incredibly young. All these players only stayed 3 years in college. If you're looking at Treylon Burks, he's going into year 2 now. So you have the long-term wide receiver core, and you've also put a little bit of a Band-Aid on it for 2023 in particular, where we're looking at names like Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin giving us the short-term production. But obviously, in the case of someone like Keenan Allen, the long-term value isn't necessarily going to be there. So I understand why you would want to go through and address the wide receiver room. I mean, but you even have Kadarius Toney as a wide receiver 6. So I think we are ultimately fine. Hawkinson, an elite tight end in the short term and an elite tight end in the long term. Greg Dulcich, a fine tight end 2 that I think that we can build around for the future. So really, it only comes down to the rookie picks. This is the only thing that we can really talk about. And it sucks. And I know it probably doesn't help out much that this is like the only thing that we're saying. First off, congrats on winning this past season. And not only congrats on winning this past season, but at the same time, congrats on selling our first round pick to go out there and get the 103. It's really funny if you win and come away with the 103, but that's besides the point. At pick 3 here in that 6-point passing touchdown format, I think I'm going to go ahead. I think that we are going to go and look at a quarterback in particular. Now, if we are looking at what we've had in my dynasty rankings up until this point, I have had CJ Stroud, Bryce Young back to back. I really don't know how to rank those 2 guys. And I've had Anthony Richardson a little bit behind them, but I've said in a 4-point passing touchdown format, I'm fine going Anthony Richardson over CJ Stroud or Bryce Young if you really believe in the story and if you really believe in the upside. But outside the case of Anthony Richardson going number 1 overall to Carolina in a 6-point passing touchdown format in particular, where the rushing upside is going to matter a little bit less, and you are going to have those quarterbacks that maybe have the passing volume being able to catch up on those rush first guys because it's a 6-point passing touchdown league. Specifically at the 103, I'm not going to be considering going with Anthony Richardson. I think in a 6-point passing touchdown format, I am going to be looking at one of CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Personally, I don't really know how to choose between these 2 guys. I don't think really anybody should know how to. I think they're extremely close. I would almost just go with what the NFL tells us or what you believe the best situation is going to be. If you think that the Houston Texans over the next 3 years would be able to surround Bryce Young with significantly better pieces than the Panthers will be able to surround CJ Stroud with, then sure, you can go ahead and take Bryce Young there over CJ Stroud. But regardless of the case, I think that we need to take a quarterback. I think that quarterback in the short term could potentially start over Derek Carr if he breaks out early. And in the long term, he's obviously the replacement there. So there's not much to do with this team overall. I mean, if I'm trying to go through, if I'm trying to nitpick this team and say, okay, well, this is where we need to improve, blah, blah, blah. What the hell am I supposed to say? Oh, let's go through and let's sell Keenan Allen for Quentin Johnston. If we can do it, we would love to, but in reality, we probably can't. And one thing that makes me hesitant to go through and try to say, okay, well, let's try to sell some of these veterans before they lose their value. Guys like Keenan Allen and Chris Godwin. In my mind, we shouldn't be going through and attempting to sell those veteran wide receivers when we don't have our own 2024 first round pick. We're sitting with someone else's 2024 first. We don't have our own. So we are highly incentivized to just go through and try to win this year. I mean, getting 12th, 11th, 10th place does us no good without our first round pick. So let's just push it back in. Let's try to win this season. Let's take the 103. Let's write out this veteran production. Hopefully the team that we have there 2024 first, they end up having a poor season. We're able to get a pick at the very top next year, and we're able to replace some of this veteran talent like Keenan Allen with, I don't know, a phenomenal wide receiver coming out of Ohio State. I think that could be exciting. But it's just, in my mind, not viable to take Jackson Smith-Njigba this year over one of those quarterbacks in a 6-point super flex, 6-point passing touchdown super flex league whenever we have Derek Carr as quarterback 2 and no QB3 behind it. But thank you again so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I really wish we could have had a little more for you there. I know that was not much, but in reality, it's a great team. You won last year. Obviously, it's a great team, and it's hard to get too much more in the weeds there, but thank you again. And real quick, we have a massive donation coming out from A to Z. Thank you so much. Says Mason, brother, love being a flocker. So we got a huge trade offer today in Dynasty Superflex. Half PPR tight end premium. Pollard, DJ Moore, Akers, Pickett, Juwan Johnson. We get Deshaun Watson. Okay, say less. We're taking Deshaun Watson. Austin Eckler and Mark Andrews. Right now, our team is Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Kenneth Walker, Deebo Samuel, Elijah Moore, and TJ Hawkinson. Okay, so I have no idea how we could ever get a deal like this. I mean, if I'm looking at Deshaun Watson versus Kenny Pickett, Tony Pollard, and DJ Moore, pretty damn close. I may take Deshaun Watson there if I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm going to be looking at, Jonathan, no, that's on our team. If I'm going to be looking at Mark Andrews versus Juwan Johnson, Cam Akers, give me Mark Andrews, and I'm running away laughing. Throwing on Austin Eckler for free, yes. Go get Watson, Eckler, and Andrews. I would do that deal even if they didn't include Austin Eckler. I would do that deal literally just for Deshaun Watson and Mark Andrews. Love it, my friend. Thank you so much for being a long time member of the flock. You know, I appreciate you. Let me go ahead and make you as a moderator. I don't know how we don't have you as a mod yet, but let's go ahead and let's dive into our next team. This one going to be coming out from Clutch Hutch. Thank you, my friend, for being a member of the flock. Says, hey, man, love the work on all the videos. It's an 8-team, 2 quarterback, 2 tight end, half PPR, 13 starter league. This is what I like to see. I completely understand, right? If you're playing in a dynasty league and you have a hard time going through and finding 11 other people to join, right? You're saying, Mason, I only have 7 other high school buddies that are going to get in this dynasty league with me. We only have 7 guys that are interested. It's fine if you want to make an 8-team league, but what is not fine is making an 8-team league and then saying we're starting a total of 9 guys. That would be horrible. That would be very, very bad where you're telling me you have 92 total starters. I mean, less than that, 72 total starters across the entire league. If you are having that 8-team league, we want to see 13 starters. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you're going to be looking at that, let me get out my little calculator here and just go 13 times 8. That's 104 starters. So that's equivalent of a 12-team league that starts 9 guys. So I like that. I really do. I'm not sure if I have the firepower to compete this year or to roll some of my picks into next season. I'm interested in your opinion on the first round picks. I have a decent amount of talent at quarterback. Not sure how to spend the early selections. Based on this league and the number of starters, would you recommend a studs and duds approach? Generally in an 8-team league, yes, I would. However, I would say with this starting 13 players, it's a little more nuanced than that, and it's not as simple as saying we are going to go studs and duds, which is why I like this being an 8-team league where we're starting 13 players, because it's not easy. I mean, it's not as easy as just saying, okay, every deal we're going to make, we're going to try to trade 2 pieces for 1. We're going to try to trade 3 pieces for 1. You actually have to have a little bit of balance here. But one thing I do want to talk about is with this being an 8-team league, it's not really a true super flex league. It's not really a 2 quarterback league. I mean, if you think about it, in a 12-team, 2 quarterback format, 24 quarterbacks are being started each and every week. Here, we have 16. Here, on average, every team is going to be able to roster 4 starting quarterbacks. So we should not be going into rookie drafts in a league like this saying, okay, 2 through 4 need to be quarterback. Nope. 2 through 4 quarterback in 12-team Superflex leagues, not 8-team Superflex leagues. It is thrown a bit. I mean, you're right. We have great quarterback production. We have Justin Herbert, who should be a top 8 quarterback, so we have a quarterback 1. Tua should be a top 16 quarterback, so we have a quarterback 2 here as well. Going down to the bench, we have Kyler Murray, so we do have that quarterback that has a low floor but an extremely high ceiling. We have Daniel Jones for some rushing upside as well. So just like you were saying, I mean, we have great QB production. Going over to running back, we have Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams in the starting lineup. If you were to see this running back room in like a 10-team league, a 12-team league, you'd be very happy. But of course, with this being an 8-team league, you have to kind of change your perception on how we're looking at this team, and you have to raise the bar here a ton, where in an 8-team league in particular, I think it's actually difficult to say that this is a room that we're extremely excited about. I think that this is a running back core that can be competitive this next season, but I mean, we could definitely use I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson coming in and bringing some more upside here. Going over to wide receiver, we are going to be starting A.J. Brown. He'll be a top 8 wide receiver in Dynasty. We have a wide receiver 1. London, who's definitely a top 16 wide receiver at the minimum. So we have a wide receiver 2. Metcalf's top 24 wide receiver. So we have wide receiver 3. DJ Moore's wide receiver 4 in this format. So, I mean, I really like this wide receiver room in general. I think that we are actually a little bit stronger at wide receiver than we are elsewhere. I mean, going down to the bench, we have Jameson Williams. We have Jahan Dotson even. We have Wan'Dale Robinson. We have A.J. Dillon on the bench. So we have some quality bench names. We are extremely weak at tight ends. Having to start 2 tight ends here does make this a little bit more of a tight end premium format than like a 12-team league where you're only starting 1, because if we're thinking about it, 16 tight ends have to be started on a week-to-week basis here, and we can assume that maybe someone goes through and hoards a few tight ends and throws one in the flex. So tight end is definitely going to be a position that is nice to have. And if we could go through, if we could package together DJ Moore and Greg Dulcich here and go out and get a tight end that we're really excited about, go get someone like Kyle Pitts, TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, I would really like that, because if we're looking at both the long-term upside, I think the long-term upside of that deal lies with the stud tight end that we would be bringing in. And also the short-term production side of the deal lies with the elite level tight end, because if we're looking at the depth that we have on this roster, yet again, going down to the bench, we have guys like A.J. Dillon, we have Jameson Williams, we have Jahan Dotson. In my mind, you go throw Jahan Dotson in your starting lineup instead of DJ Moore this year, I don't expect that different of production, if I'm going to be honest with you. I would really like that. And going down to the picks, this is where we have the majority to talk about. We have the 102, 103. Okay, so just like what we were talking about at the very top of this, right? The very top of this, we were saying, well, we didn't want to be going through and locking in quarterbacks here, because this isn't like a regular Superflex league. This isn't like that regular Superflex league in a 12-team format where we're going through and we are drafting, say, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud at 2 and 3. Instead, at 2 and 3 in this kind of league, where we have 13 starters, I would probably rather take a swing and try to get a few players with an elite level ceiling. If I'm going to be honest with you, I would probably rather take Jackson Smith-Njigba, and not only Jackson Smith-Njigba, but Jahmyr Gibbs. If we could go through and add those 2 names on here, I think it would make a lot of sense for this team. Like if you're adding in Jahmyr Gibbs to this running back room, I don't really know what to expect with Jahmyr Gibbs exactly this next season, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs has the upside to make a difference on this roster. And then I'd say the same thing with Jackson Smith-Njigba at wide receiver, but making those moves, in my mind, that tells us we should be that much more willing to go through and make that 2-for-1 deal to upgrade at tight end, to trade DJ Moore and Greg Dulcich and go out there and try to get TJ Hawkinson. I would love to do something like that, especially if we're looking at pick 6. Pick 6, I'd be fine if we wanted to go ahead and if we wanted to take one of those top tier quarterbacks here. If you add Anthony Richardson making it to you and you're like, okay, man, I don't know if we want Richardson. I don't know if we want Jordan Addison. Really, it's going to be up to you in that range. It's just an interesting format, as we've already been focusing on for this entire video. So I think you can take that in a couple different directions. But overall, I feel like this team has enough depth to get by, and even more than enough depth with this being a start 13-team league. So what I would probably prefer doing is just in general packaging together some of those depth wide receivers with those tight ends to get tight end upgrades currently, especially as we bring in more young wide receiver talent in through our rookie draft. But thank you again, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I really hope that you're able to get something from this podcast. And as always, if there's anything I can do to improve the website for you, please do not hesitate to let me know. Now we are going to go over and check out Jay Lancey here, a longtime member of the flock, playing on MFL. Okay, so I know a lot of people probably haven't seen this exact view before. This is a gross version of MFL. I'm used to the mobile view. Whenever I played on MFL for like, what? It's 2014, or I think we stopped around 2021. For 7 years, I would only do the mobile view. I'd never really use the app. So this is a gross version in my mind, but nonetheless, it is a 10-team Superflex 6-point passing touchdown league. We have the 101 this year, 2 future first, and a 2024 second. We just traded the 104, 105 McLaurin and George Pickens for Josh Allen. Was that the right move? Specifically in a 10-team Superflex league? Hell yes. Because if we're going to be breaking this down, 104, 105 in a 10-team Superflex league, what we're going to be looking at Anthony Richardson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. So we traded away in a 10-team league where we are wanting to go through and we are wanting to chase the highest ceiling possible. Trade away a decent amount of depth here. McLaurin, Addison, Richardson, George Pickens for Josh freaking Allen. I really like it. I don't even think we need to see the roster. But pulling up this roster, we can see, yeah, it is a ridiculous one. We have Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. So we have 2 top 6 quarterbacks in a 6-point passing touchdown league where it is super flex as well. So we have cornerstone assets to build around for a very long time here. Going over to what we have with the bench, we even have Deshaun Watson. So we have another top 10 quarterback at the position. What the hell? I mean, phenomenal deal to go get Josh Allen, even if we already had Lawrence and Watson. Now, going over to running back, we're currently sitting with a couple of top 5 RBs. We have Travis Etienne, Breece Hall. DeAndre Swift is in a flex spot. Going down to the bench, we have Cordell Patterson. Really not much depth at running back. I don't necessarily think we need a lot of depth whenever we have Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, and DeAndre Swift. I know Swift has been plummeting, and we actually just got done talking about this earlier today. But it's really funny looking back on where DeAndre Swift was last offseason. Can y'all take a guess of where DeAndre Swift was in overall rankings? Not just positional rankings. Overall rankings right before the season started on Keep Trade Cut in 12-team Superflex leagues. Take a guess of the number DeAndre Swift was in there. I really want to hear what you have to say because, I mean, I remembered him being high, and I don't act like I was smarter than everybody else and I had him low. No, I had him high like everybody else. You says 14 to 16 question mark. I don't want to give out any hints. I just want to see some more guesses here. Okay. I'll let the cat out of the bag here. DeAndre Swift peaked as the 9th overall player. DeAndre Swift was a top 10 asset in Dynasty leagues last year based on community rankings. Yeah, Adrian knew was top 10. The Freak said 32. Yeah, he was higher than that, my friend. I mean, it's surprising to look back, but I mean, even I had DeAndre Swift ranked as my running back 3 in Dynasty. If y'all remember, last year it was like Jonathan Taylor 1, and then in some order, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, and Breece Hall right after that. And that was consensus. Everybody had DeAndre Swift running back 3, running back 4. Find someone who was making rankings that didn't. So it's crazy to see Swift fall this far to where now we're sitting with him as our RB3. We're like, yeah, I'm good with DeAndre Swift as our running back 3. He definitely should fall based on what the Detroit Lions coaching staff has showed us, based on his inability to stay healthy, based on the addition of David Montgomery. I don't know how much he should fall. He's plummeted as of late, but regardless of the case, I really like our running back room. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have a bunch of young, productive players. T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Christian Watson. 3 of these guys are going into year 2. T. Higgins, I believe, is younger than Kenny Pickett. Going down to the bench, we have a couple more year 2 wide receivers. We have Treylon Burks. We even have some more depth with Jerry Jeudy and Rashad Bateman. So looking at this team now in depth, that Josh Allen trade was literally the best thing you could have done. I can't imagine this team with the additional depth of having guys like Terry McLaurin and then multiple first-round picks coming in. Making that Josh Allen deal was exactly what we should have done. What the hell am I supposed to say? Going over to tight end, we have the tight end 1, tight end 2 in Dynasty right now. We have Kyle Pitts. We have Mark Andrews. I can't see what rookie picks that we have. You're saying we have 2 2024 first. Where do we go from here? So let's just recap what this team's looking at. This team has 2 top 6 quarterbacks, 3 top 10 quarterbacks. This team has 2 top 5 running backs. DeAndre Swift is their running back 3. This team has 1, 2, 3 top 12 wide receivers in Dynasty. Then on top of that, Christian Watson, Treylon Burks, Jerry Jeudy, Rashad Bateman. This team has the number 1 and number 2 overall tight end. This team has multiple 2024 first-round picks. Here's what I want you to do, my friend. And thank you again so much for being a longtime member of the flock. And I am sorry for the crappy advice and how I'm not able to say much here, but kind of is what it is. I need you to kick back. Okay, whatever you were doing, kick back, relax, and let the money come in. You are such a heavy favorite in this league for the next 5 seasons that I feel like making too many moves from here, I don't see what we can do. I feel like you only have room to go down. We are already so far ahead of the rest of the field. I think that we can just sleep well at night knowing that nobody can come close to us. So, I mean, I'm sorry, my friend. I wish I had more for you. Maybe you trade a depth wide receiver for a depth running back and make a little swing. That, in reality, I think you have a great team, and there's literally nothing I can't say is better than any Dynasty team I have. Now, coming out with our next one. Actually, real quick, let me thank you again. And as always, you know, my friend, reach out to me if you ever need anything, or if you especially want flockfantasy.com improved in any way, please let me know. But thank you again for everything. A phenomenal team. Now, let's go over to Rogue's team here. Hey, Mason, 12 teams start 8 PPR, 1.5 PPR, 4 tight ends, FFPC Superflex. We have the 105, 405 to 705 in 2023 and all our 2024 picks. This was an orphan team I picked up recently, so I'm wondering where to go from here. Thanks, Mark. No, thank you so much again, my friend. A couple things y'all don't know about FFPC. Big thing is, I would say, I don't want to speak negatively. I mean, I don't have too much to say. I'll say, I believe they used to charge 25% rake. I don't know if that's still the case, but I would be a little bit worried about that. I think they charge 25% rake, okay? Just a little bit worried. But anyway, big thing to talk about is I think the number of players you're able to keep on your roster throughout the course of the offseason, is it 14? I think you can keep 14 guys. Let's see how many players in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I guess it's 14, and then you get a kicker and a defense as well. So 16 kicker and defense. So in FFPC, it's very difficult to go through and draft a bunch of players that you like the long-term upside of, but aren't going to make a difference early on. It's very difficult to go through and draft a bunch of guys that look like David Bell and say, yeah, you know what? I don't know what they're going to give us year one, but I like the long-term profile of it. I'm willing to hold for a few years to see how it works out. You can't do that here. At the end of every offseason, you're going to have to make some difficult cuts. And that makes these leagues play a little bit more like a keeper league than true Dynasty. Okay. That is one thing that people need to understand when they're getting into this format, that you can't go through and you can't just load up on a ton of depth pieces and say, I'm going to stack up a million wide receiver twos and then be able to, in the long term, just continue to add on and add on and add on. In this kind of league, you have to eventually just consolidate into some win now assets, some guys at the very top here. But anyway, this is going to be that Superflex league where we have Deshaun Watson and Matthew Stafford. So we do have the 105, and with this 105 pick, I honestly think we'll probably be looking quarterback. I mean, I've been seeing more and more people saying to take Jackson Smith and Jigba over the Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson tier. I love JSN. I personally wouldn't recommend someone to do that, but I think maybe that gives you an opportunity where if someone else takes Jackson Smith and Jigba ahead of those 3 quarterbacks, and then we are able to go through and at the 105, we're able to bring in someone like Bryce Young. We're able to bring in someone like CJ Stroud. I think that that could do this team very well, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, with Watson, I think he's a fine QB1 to build around for the long term. With Stafford, I really like him as our quarterback 3, if I'm going to be honest with you. It's just a little difficult to have Stafford as your quarterback 2 and then nobody behind him. Now, going over to running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, both 2018 running backs. I mean, with Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb, both really like the production that you should get this next season. I mean, I think that if we're looking at the long-term outlook, you probably have 2-ish seasons left from both backs of elite top-end level production left. And in FFPC in particular, I'm not necessarily trying to think 3, 4 years out. More so I am saying, okay, well, yeah, let's just freaking win this bad boy. Let's go in there and let's get some points in the starting lineup. I like having the combo of Barkley, Chubb in this format. Going down there to the bench, we really don't have anybody. We have guys like, Benjamin, Jerome Ford, Nyheim Hines. Really surprised that the team didn't have better players to keep on this roster, and this is who they ended up keeping and cutting the other guys. I wish I could see the other guys that were cut off. But anyway, wide receiver, we have Amari, Godwin, Treylon Burks, Allen Robinson, and Cortland Sutton. So if we're looking at the wide receiver room, a lot does hinge on the ability for Treylon Burks to break out. Like if Treylon Burks comes out and if Treylon Burks is able to, I don't want to say take the A.J. Brown jump. Obviously, he was drafted to be an A.J. Brown replacement. I doubt that ever happens at this point, but if he is able to just be, say, a mid to high-end wide receiver 2 in fantasy, right? I think that you could be very happy with this wide receiver core. But if Burks is a non-factor this next season, and we're rolling with Amari Cooper and Chris Godwin as like wide receiver 2s, and we don't really have anything else beyondwards, I mean, I wouldn't love it. What is really nice, FFPC, you're going to be playing in the tight end premium league, so you're getting 1.5 points per reception for the tight end position. Mark Andrews will make a difference here, so I like having Andrews. I like having Higbee. Not only will Andrews make a difference, but also at the same time, with this being tight end premium, we also have to look at how few of players we are starting in this lineup. We are starting the quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a super flex, and a flex. We are starting 8 spots. So inherently, wide receiver depth won't matter too much. What's going to matter a little bit more will be getting an elite level tight end, which we have with Mark Andrews. I actually have an Andrews article being posted on flockfantasy.com soon. And then also, I would really like to get a couple elite level quarterbacks in here. In comparison to this being a start 11 Superflex league, this start 8 Superflex league, quarterbacks are going to be counting for 25% of the starting lineup requirements on a week-to-week basis on the offensive side of the ball. Inherently, with them scoring more than the other positions, they will probably be accounting for 30-ish% of the production of the starting lineup output. So much of your expected win rate this next year will just be from that quarterback position, where if we can get the elite level quarterbacks paired up with the elite level tight end, it doesn't matter if we are a little underweight at wide receiver. For this format in particular, that is the winning formula. So going back to what you're saying, where we have the 105, I think we really just go best quarterback available. I think we really hope that someone in your league decides to go ahead and take Jackson Smith and Jigba ahead of the top 3 QBs, ahead of someone like Anthony Richardson, ahead of CJ Stroud, ahead of Bryce Young. That would be really nice. And if not, dependent on the landing spot, I may even consider Will Levis at 5 in this format with this team in particular. But thank you again so much, my man, for being a member of the flock. I really hope you're able to get something out of that. I would recommend looking into I believe they charge a 25% rake in those leagues, which is why I've never played in them, but I could be completely wrong. Maybe they changed that. That would be something I would look into, my friend. But our next team coming out from JMZ19. Thank you, my man, for being a member of the flock. Says, hello, Mason, and everybody a part of the flock fantasy crew. Here's my squad. Can be used in YouTube. Superflex, start 9, 12 team, full PPR, 1 tight end premium. So we are getting a full point tight end premium. QBs are 6 point per passing touchdown. We're coming off a championship year, and we did a somewhat reboot. We had older players like Devontae Adams, Dak Prescott, Darren Waller, Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler. This is the team currently moving towards getting Caleb Williams, Drake May next year. A 2024 first that isn't my own is a projected early to mid. Okay, so interesting spot to be in. So we won last year, and we've already gone through and torn this down. So quarterback, we are currently sitting with Justin Herbert, Mac Jones. I actually like Justin Herbert, Mac Jones more in a 6-point passing touchdown format than I would in a 4-point passing touchdown league, because in that 4-point passing touchdown league, I'm more so going for those quarterbacks that just have the elite rushing ceiling, because from a passing volume perspective, it's going to be hard for these other guys to keep up. But 6-point passing touchdown, give me all the Herbert, give me all the Mac Jones. I mean, Mac Jones QB3 I'd really like. Obviously here, quarterback 2 is going to be a little bit tougher, but still. Yeah, don't really have anybody. We have Brissett, Sam Howell down there on the bench. Going over to RB, we are currently rolling with Najee Harris, James Conner in the starting lineup. Going down to the bench, I mean, we currently have, not much, but keep in mind this is a team with the 101. So because we have the 101, we're bringing in Bijan Robinson. Not only are we getting the short-term value that Bijan gives us, but also we are giving that long-term upside and security. So, this is a team that could definitely use Bijan Robinson's going to slide everybody down. Having Najee Harris as your running back 2, having James Conner as your running back 3, that is exciting. Okay, the dog really wants to be on camera. I haven't showed the dog off in a while, so we will do this real quick. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, and I am very sorry about this breakdown in particular, but I know the dog wants to do this. Okay, this isn't me. Come here. All right. You want to break down the rest of these? So someone has to put food in the bowls, okay? Someone has to put milk in the fridge, gas in the cars. You got to leave me alone here. You got to go. Okay, yeah, the dog's not leaving. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like she is here to stay. But going over to running back, once you add in Bijan Robinson and we slide everybody down, you are in a very good spot in particular. If you have Najee Harris still, it's a running back that maybe didn't look good last year, but still has a ton of volume, still on his rookie contract, still a 3-down player. Now, going over to wide receiver, we're going to be currently sitting with the wide receiver 2 overall in Dynasty. We have Jamar Chase, Hollywood Brown, Terry McLaurin. We have Michael Gallup in the starting lineup, but keep in mind, Michael Gallup really isn't going to be a starter here. Instead, we're going to be sliding James Conner down once we have Bijan Robinson coming into that top running back spot. So that's the strength that you get from adding in like a Bijan Robinson here, and that not only do you have a very good player, but everybody else slides down this starting lineup. Going down to the bench, at wide receiver in particular, we don't have a ton. If we were looking at that rookie pick 108, however, we are in a very good position where we are able to go through and add in another difference-making player. At the 108, we're going to be looking at someone like Quentin Johnston. You're going to be looking at someone like Jordan Addison. That should be a player that can make a difference. And in my mind, a player that we are excited to add onto this team. I understand that you were saying that you wanted to go through and you wanted to play for the 101 next year and bring in Caleb Williams. In reality, my friend, I think this team is way too good to do so. Like, once we add in Bijan Robinson, once we add in Quentin Johnston to this roster, I think that this is a team that could be competitive this next season. Of course, if you really wanted to hit that reset button, you could. And if you really wanted to hit that reset button, then all of a sudden we'd be in the market of selling James Conner. We'd be looking to sell Hollywood Brown. We'd be looking to sell Terry McLaurin. I'll get to that in just one second. Tight end, we are very weak. This is a massive tight end premium format as well. So don't really like having Hunter Henry at tight end. I would obviously like to upgrade at this position in particular, but not necessarily worth talking about just right this second. If we were looking at like the 209, the 303, if Darnell Washington was able to make it here, then of course we would take him. I'd say the same thing about the guys at the very top, such as like Dalton Kincaid, Michael Mayer, but I doubt they fall there to the 209. So instead, I'd probably be looking at someone like Darnell Washington in this extreme tight end premium format. But in general, going back and looking at this team, I think maybe we are just being a little bit antsy with what we are trying to do, with what we are looking for. I know you're saying that we wanted to go through and get that upgrade. Get the elite level players in 2024 as rookies. I think when you have a shot to compete this next season, we don't necessarily need to go through and tear it down immediately. I would much prefer sitting on our hands, and yes, it's maybe going to be boring, but sitting on our hands and pushing off that decision until at the beginning of the season. Because once we get to the beginning of the season, we can see a few different things. We can see, how does our team perform? If we're a month into the year and we're 4-0, we're 3-1, Mac Jones takes a step forward in general, then at that point, maybe we're looking around going, okay, thank God we didn't tear this down. Looks like I can go back to back. Looks like we can win yet again. However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, say Mac Jones gets replaced. Say then at that point, Jamar Chase has a high ankle sprain. Bijan Robinson starts a little slow. Then at that point, we'll know, okay, let's go through and let's sell some of our veteran assets. At that point, let's go through and let's sell Hollywood Brown. Let's sell James Conner. And let's sell Terry McLaurin. And let's go get some of those 2024 picks. I just don't want to have to make that decision until we have a better understanding of where our team is, which direction it's going with. Because if we're sitting like, I need to come up with a good analogy for this, but this is something that I've really been doing with the majority of my dynasty rosters for a while now, is instead of like going and picking which direction in the stream you're going to, this is a good analogy. It just came off the top of my head. Instead of standing on the side of the stream where you can't tell which way the current is going. You can't tell if it's going to the east. You can't tell if it's going to the west. Instead of saying, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to start swimming in that direction, why don't we get in the water first, wait the first few weeks of the season? Once we feel which current we are being taken in, regardless if that's the current where, hell, we're going to be a contender this year, then we start swimming in that direction. Versus maybe this is a roster that's actually going to struggle this next season. Then we start swimming in the current that takes us to 2024 and selling veteran players. Now, of course, while we stand on the side before we make that decision, we are always going to be looking at trying to go through and accumulate value where we can. But I just don't want to have to commit to anything right this second. I think you have a very good team, and I think we can be competitive this next season, my friend, especially if you're saying we have multiple 2024 firsts. Maybe if we start off strong, we can sell our own 2024 first and then keep the one that looks like it's going to be early. But thank you again so much, my friend, for being a member of the vlog and supporting the channel. As always, if there's anything I can do to improve for you, please let me know, especially if there's any way I can improve vlogfantasy.com. But real quick, Samuel coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, hey, Mason, big things from the UK. You're crushing it. Respect the hard work. What would you be willing to pay for a quarterback in a one quarterback league? The only piece I am missing. Okay, so let me go ahead and let me pull up my quarterback rankings on vlogfantasy.com. Look at my one QB rankings just to give you an idea in general of a few of the different names that we are going to be looking at. Okay, just give me 1 second. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so if we're going to go through and look at where the quarterbacks stand. So the quarterbacks, the first guy off the board in one quarterback dynasty leagues will be Patrick Mahomes. I personally have him ranked at 13 overall. I have Josh Allen at 14. I have them as early second round starter picks. I have Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow right behind him. So the players I'd be willing to sell for Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow would be names like T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, and Travis Etienne. I'd be willing to go out and pay that price to get a truly elite level quarterback. But then once we see the significant fall off, like someone that I'm excited about in a super flex league, but not necessarily that excited about, say, in a one quarterback format, would be a name like Deshaun Watson. And if I'm looking at Deshaun Watson in comparison to some of the rookies that I have, I mean, I have Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison ranked directly above Deshaun Watson. And those are my rookies 104 and 105. And I have Zach Charbonnet, who's the 106, ranked directly behind Deshaun Watson. So like if I was going to tell you to go through and trade a rookie pick for Deshaun Watson as an example, I'd say go through and trade the 106 for Watson. I mean, if we're going to be looking at Kyler Murray, I mean, I'd be comparing him to some of the other names that we have like 7, 8, 9 in our one quarterback rookie rankings this year with Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. Scrolling down even further, Dak Prescott would be probably that late first for me to that late first. Daniel Jones, that late first. I'd really like just taking Will Levis in the second round of a one quarterback dynasty rookie draft, but I hope that was able to help you out, my friend. But I think that's all we have for this live stream. Again, thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us all night. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this. And I really hope that you have a great day in general. And like I said, if y'all join flockfantasy.com and you are a mother flocker and you use promo code FLOCK and you want one of your teams broken down on a live stream like this or in a personalized podcast, make sure you go join our Discord chat. You can, of course, find it on flockfantasy.com. It's right there at the very top. Send your Flock Fantasy username in the Join Here tab on our Discord chat. Then the developers will go through and they will link your accounts. That way, you at that point unlock our roster submissions where you're able to go through and you're able to submit your team there. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you. Really hope you have a great night and really hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow.